Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. My name is Josh. I'm really struggling to introduce these episodes these days because I feel like I'm running out of just banter material. So I thought of this one pretty quickly. I'll introduce Ryan and Kathy, who are my co-hosts and producer for this podcast. But we've all seen, and before I introduce our guest as well, I'm going to ask her the same question. We've all seen the movie Titanic, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Do we think that Jack could have fit on the door?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Totally.
Okay. We're all in agreement there?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Rose is being selfish.
So it's not that good of a movie. I would just like to throw that out there. I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, I really want to introduce our guest, Kathy. I know you have known her for a lot longer than me because I've known her for about 15 minutes. But she's a jack of all trades in this industry. She was one of the top real estate agents in the state of Kentucky for almost 2 decades. She coaches, mentors, basically does it all. And I'm really excited to hear her perspective on what's happening in the industry, and also just hear her story. So Debbie Holloway, thank you for joining us. Do you think Jack could have fit on the door?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. Yes.
Or, they even could have taken turns, right? Like she could have jumped off, got back in, I don't know. Anyways, I watched the movie recently and I was very critical of it.
Yeah. By the way, that was a great icebreaker.
That was good, Kathy. I like that.
We're off to a good start.
Yeah, that's good. So Debbie,
I got to tell you, not only is this lady a jack of all trades and super successful, but she has mastered so many different avenues in our industry. And I'm thrilled today to have her join us and share some of the things she's doing now, her perspective on where the business is going, and kind of best practices and things that we need to do to build our business and to stay successful. So Debbie, welcome. It's great to have you with us.
I'm just so excited to have an opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with you, Kathy, because it's been a long time.
It has been. It has been. And as we talked about earlier, this lady is from the bourbon capital of the world.
Yeah,
and we've contributed quite heavily to that industry on this call, Debbie. So You're amongst your people.
Ryan, can you actually give us like a 15-minute mark so we can spend the last 5 talking about whiskey? Because I have so many questions. Like that's actually priority 1 in my brain, but we'll push that to the end.
Well, I can only talk bourbon because bourbon's only made in Kentucky.
That's true. Oh, it's true. But Debbie, please share with us your real estate expertise, or maybe let's just start with when you first got into the industry. What was it like as an agent? Let's start there.
That's a great place to start. When I got into the business, and I won't say when because I'm trying to look younger than my age, so I won't say when I got into real estate, but I will tell you this. The first day I walked into the door of the office that I'd chosen to go to, it was just one big office, one big open room with a small office for the broker to the side, and the manager met me. She just is a fabulous woman. And I said, I'm here to start my first day. And I looked over in the corner and there were these women standing and a couple were sitting and they were crying and they were hysterical. And of course, being from the South, I looked at the manager and I said, who passed? Because I figured someone had died because they were pretty upset. She said, haven't you heard? She said, the interest rates just went to 18%. Now, remember, I'm a brand new agent. So my response was, is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
I didn't know what I didn't know. And of course, 2 months later, they went to 21%. So I got into real estate at just the perfect time.
Yeah. But it clearly didn't frighten you. You're still here, right?
Well, no, because I wasn't smart enough to know. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Ignorance is bliss in that point.
But what helped me was I didn't know to be afraid of the market. I didn't come from a position that a lot of agents are coming from right now. Well, it's been good for 3 or 4 years and it's hard now and the business is bad. And oh my God, the rates are 7%. Try 18. Yeah. It's really not a bad market at all. It's a great market for people that want to work the market. And if you actually woke up tomorrow and didn't remember the great market, this would be a great market because I was doing a talk in a Western state for a state association a couple of months ago. And I made the comment, the whole concept of the conversation that I was having with them was around our words are more important now than ever. And I started it with, 600,000 agents are getting out of the business because of the NAR settlement. There were agents clapping, like, said, yeah, I saw that on social media. And I, as I went through my talk, I got to where I said, it's just words, people. Those of you that are afraid, those of you that think, oh, I'm going to get them now because I'm going to really undercut, or I'm not going to tell anybody they can ever show my listings, I'll sell them myself. These were the kind of comments that I was hearing when this first came out. That's the wrong approach. Those are the wrong words. I think everybody needs to stop and say, how can we best help the consumers? And let's work that way. Not how can I screw another agent? Sorry to say that. Okay. Not how can I control it all for myself. The opportunities are great right now. It's how we choose our words. That's it. It's real simple to me.
I love to make up words. And one of my favorite made up words is cooperation. And I think what I hear you saying is this is the perfect time because we're in such a cooperating business to look at your competitor, whether it be in your office or across the street or across town, and say, how do we work together best for the consumer? So I love that. And I love that you're hitting this head on as far as let's not have bad practices. Let's see opportunity and move forward with good practices. So what would you say, Debbie, the 3 things that realtors today need to be looking for as far as opportunity?
Well, number one, I think we have to understand our job is to be a connector. We're connecting people to properties. We're connecting agents and their clients to our properties, services we're connecting. We need to understand how to be a better connector because that agent that you help now, that you go the extra mile, that you return the phone call to, may get out of the business in a year or so, and they might give you theirs. The one thing I learned when the rates were 18% is that it really brought out the best and the worst of the industry. And of course, at the time I got in the business, it was hard enough to be a woman in real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you the things that were said to me. I think we need to understand how to be a better connector. And I tell people, and I said this in my talk, and I won't go into detail, but I think there's 5 things you have to be a great connector. You have to have the ability to listen. You have to understand the value of clarifying for your clients, clarifying for the other agents. You need to understand the importance of rapport. Rapport with everyone is more important now than ever. You need to problem solve. Understand that everything is not just a problem, it's an opportunity, but we have to be the one that solves it. And I think the most important thing is we need to understand how to contribute, whether it's contributing to helping other agents, contributing to educating the public, contributing to being that connector, whether it's with agents in your town or agents in other towns. That's the beauty of a real estate company like yours or a coaching company like Tom Ferry. You and I, we have a big outreach to others. We can help people. Look at all the stuff that's out there for free. Mm-hmm. If all you had to do is get it for free, we'd all do well. Now, I think it's going to take more of us, not just working against, but working together.
I think you have, you brought it up. You have a unique perspective because you came into the industry when interest rates were at 18%. You have worked through, these different mountains and mm-hmm. valleys in the industry, but maybe someone, like you said, someone who got into the industry in 2020 or 2021 and interest rates were at 2% and they are now dealing with what they're dealing with now. What's some advice you can give to them who maybe they haven't, this is the first valley that they're living through in the industry?
Well, number one, don't quit. Mm-hmm. Don't think that the world is falling apart around you, because it's not. When I can only tell you what I did. The first thing I learned was from my manager, and she's the first one that said to me, you need to be a connector. You need to understand the value of connecting. I want you to write down everyone you can remember from high school, college, any job you've ever had, your church, any associations you're involved in. Take the time to write it down, create a big COI. I grew up in my town. I my job before I got into real estate was I coordinated events for the Derby Festival. So I had met all of the CEOs of the companies in town. So I wrote all of that down. She said, start by writing down everybody you know. That's number one. Secondly, she said, look at what agents are doing that's working and do that. Look at what agents are doing that's not working, and don't do that. She says it's really simple. So I started to notice that there were agents that were really thinking of getting out of the business. I mean, at 18%, agents did get out of the business. So I took it upon myself to take them and have a coffee or lunch and say, I'm really committed to this and I really want to work hard. And I understand you've been talking about getting out. What if we created a partnership? You give me the business, I will go and work it as harder than anyone else has worked it. And then we will create a split over a period of 3 years. The split will get lower and lower. I'll do all the work. All you have to do is take a picture on a postcard with me, and I'll pay everything. I had a lot of people say yes. It got to where I had people coming to me, calling me up saying, I hear you're buying businesses. To me, that's an opportunity for an agent right now. Now, that doesn't mean you go and say to people, I'm buying real estate practices. No, you look at the people that look like it's not working for them, that maybe they're struggling, but they do know a lot of people. They do have a good reputation. That's the very first thing that I did. The second thing I did was I knew I needed to learn how to speak in a way that would cause people to say yes. Yeah. I didn't know that, though, until I'd been in the business several years. I was a single mom, divorced, not making a lot of money. And I met Tom Ferry at an event in Atlanta that I didn't want to go to because I used all the excuses we use. I can't afford it. I don't have a babysitter. I don't have time. I'm not making any money now. Well, I met him and I asked, of course, if I sign up for your program, can I do it free for a few months? And you know what he said? No. Yeah. I'm like, well, okay, we got 30 days. And he taught me the words to say. Yeah. Now you see people that teach you this all the time. Neuro-linguistic programming, Phil Jones, What You Say Matters. It's all out there. But Tom actually taught me, and then I, with Tom and Matt, we spent 18 months working on sentences that agents could use to get a yes and to build rapport. So I really focused on what I was saying and how I was saying it to people. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
really those are the main things I did.
That's the first I can picture my mom saying that to me since I was a child. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's so true. I think one of the other things that you've brought up, and I kind of want you to touch on, is the idea of mentorship or having someone, that's above you or been in this industry longer than you. You brought up your manager when you first when you first jumped into that office, and she was explaining things to you that you didn't know. And so I think, we obviously push mentorship and training and education in this industry, and especially at this company. But can you maybe touch on just how important it is to have a mentor in real estate?
Yeah, she was my first mentor, Roseanne Urban, and she eventually moved, and I think to the Chicago area, and I don't know where she is now, but she really changed things for me because she was always hey, that's possible. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. Let's look how we can supersize that. What does that mean to you? Tell me more about that. She was really good at that, just naturally. Yeah. So that was a great start. I think signing up for coaching at a time when I didn't have the money to sign up for coaching was probably the best decision I ever made because I didn't have the opportunities that it afforded me in my town in Kentucky. It allowed me to see real estate from more of a 30,000 foot view versus just what was next door to me. Sure. That was huge. And then the connections from then, getting to meet with Jay Abraham and Phil Jones and so many people over the years, Steve Harney, that I've gotten to know, all those things just help you build your reputation, your integrity, your rapport building skills. It's connections. It always seems to boil down to that.
One thing that I think is very worthy of mentioning is the most important part to me of coaching Josh and Ryan is to be coachable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're experiencing in this podcast is how coachable Debbie was when she went into the industry, that she was willing to be mentored.
Totally.
And willing to be led. And I don't want to be remiss in not saying that. And now she has taken that to the next level. So Debbie, talk a little bit about WIRE, if you will, and what that is and how that is helping people come together and build synergy and momentum and all of that.
Back in 2000, and actually the conversation started in 2014. And I think it's because of having gone through getting into the business like I did, going through a divorce, trying to build my business, hooking up with getting a coach and seeing what the possibilities were. But I also noticed along the way, once Roseanne left, there really wasn't that female mentor, because it was definitely a man's world at that time. It's not so much now. But even so, what I learned along the way from all of the coaching that I did and all of the speaking and meeting women is that they would come out of events and they'd say, I'm just so tired. I can't figure out how to balance work and life. And let's face it, it isn't a balance. It's a choice. And we want to call it work-life balance, but you can't. That's just not how it works. But I can't seem to find that. I don't have a great relationship with my family anymore. All of the things that I remember experiencing when I was going through this business, and this business takes a lot out of you. It's a lot harder than people realize. People think we drive around in expensive cars and go, oh, great, buy it. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having somebody that understands, because they're in the same place, really helps you. So we did our first women's event for Tom Ferry in 2016. We did another one in 2019. Those were big events, 200 women or more. And then I started doing events for real estate companies large companies that say wanted to do something for all of the women in their 500 person company. They wanted to do a day event for them to help build them up. Then I started doing that. And every event is different. I don't do the same thing at every event. What I do is I poll the people coming and find out what their challenges are, and I customize the event around them. So we've done several since then, smaller. I moved to 100 women because I really liked the opportunity that the women got out of connecting. And then a year ago, a wonderful agent out of California wanted me to do one for a group of women in Yosemite Park.
Cool.
Who turns down Yosemite Park? No one, right? So she rented 2 houses. There ended up being 25 women there. And I saw so many breakthroughs, literally breakthroughs, things in their past that was holding them back. And we didn't do any kind of mental events. It was really more getting to know each other. We would work a half a day, then we would go out and jump in the lake and just goof off. Or like the next day we went to Yosemite. So you got to know women on a different level, and you got to talk to them about more than just their listings and their buyers. And what came of that was such a great connection that this same group of women is now coming to the one I'm doing. I'm doing 2 in Destin in September, and one of those is for the Redwood women. So that's what WIRE is.
I just love your enthusiasm. It's, I think you found what you are really good at, and then you found where you can make an impact. And it's really cool to see and hear. Kathy, I know I said this to one of our other guests that we had on, but all I'm thinking about now is Debbie and our women's luncheon at Summit. And I just think that would be such a cool thing to do in tandem.
Absolutely. And it's women impacting real estate. Yeah. And I mean, who could be a better founder of that than Debbie? Because you've had such an incredible impact, and you're so modest. And I just want to thank you for all that you do to continue to serve in the midst of a challenging industry, but you see opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've always said, for me, every day I get up and say, today, I want to find a lesson I can learn and a lesson I can teach. I want to learn something new every day. And every day I want to do something that gives back or that helps out. Because when life is done, it's not who you are, it's how you affected other people. Yeah. And I think that's what's most important.
About the legacy.
I agree. Words of wisdom. Thank you, Debbie. Seriously, I think this has been very insightful. I think our network's going to really enjoy this. So we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And we have to get together soon, Kathy. Maybe
We
we'll
do.
go to Kentucky and we'll drink bourbon.
Oh God, please.
So
I would love that. Yeah, we'll be there. Just tell us when. Thank you again.
Thank you.
all very much. I appreciate it.
We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty One Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtynegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details, listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.